What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
I'm here, Ben. I made it. I cleared my schedule. I made some time for the pop this week. I decided, I'll join. I'll be on the show.
You'll do it. You'll do it.
I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty busy, but I thought, I'll make some room.
Gracing me with your presence. Well, I'm just so very glad because I see here that you're working on a couple of great new projects. You know, a couple of movies on the horizon.
Yeah. But
also, I've got a note here that says that you guys went to a local eatery over the weekend.
That's true.
As a family, it sounds like you've enjoyed maybe a Sundae of sorts.
That is true. Okay, so I'll give you the breakdown on my epic restaurant visitation this weekend.
I'm pretty stoked to hear the whole thing.
Absolutely. So we were looking for a place to go after church, and Luke really wanted to go somewhere we could go inside and sit down. Like, we've gone to a few restaurants, as the family of five, experimenting. Like, we gotta get used to it. We just gotta take the plunge.
I don't think that people properly understand the true challenge.
It is
that is taking the whole family. Like it's just me, Alice, and Addie, and even that is it's like you have to kind of prepare for it mentally.
There's no doubt.
Okay, we got this.
I remember when it was just me and Luke for whatever reason one weekend, and I think we met you and Dad and Tyler at Famous Toastery, and it was like a solid 4-on-1, and it was still just like, oh man, okay, this is gonna be a lot of work.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Be prepared. But obviously it was totally fine. But so the boys are old enough. They can they can eat the food at the restaurant. They don't have to have just baby food. They can order off the kids menu. It's fun. It's good practice getting out of the house and stuff, and just being in public together and not causing a scene.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
That's really the goal when you head out. We'll go, because if you can go out and not cause a scene, then it is fun to go out and eat. It's great.
Right.
Normally a lot of times post church we'll do a drive-through kind of situation, or we'll go pick up some Chipotle or something like that. But Luke wanted to go inside. He wanted to sit down, and I feel like Beth kind of wanted to too. So she suggested this local restaurant called Macado's, which I'm positive you're hyper familiar with.
Oh yeah, me or listener at home, because possibly both.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's a small regional chain.
There's no doubt.
There's 16 of them that exist. But yes, no. So I have probably eaten at Macado's in my life. I would be willing to bet 200 times.
Easily. Yeah, there's no doubt.
It's anywhere I've ever been. They're in every single college town. They've been near every house I've ever lived near. They're just the classic American dining experience with the menu that's far too long and almost always entirely staffed by a rotating group of college students who happen to be in the area.
Yeah.
So you almost never go to Macado's and have the same server twice.
Yeah.
That's just not.
There's no doubt. Yeah. They have this entire if a lot of people are big fans of minimalism, but the general style at Macado's is maximalism,
which I know you are a huge fan of.
No,
you are if there's one thing I know about you other than your affinity for beanbags, is that you are just as many different various objects that could be located on as many different shelves and or ceilings as possible.
I can appreciate maximalism done well, but it's not for me in my personal space.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stress you out to go there.
No, it doesn't stress me out to go there. There's it's their vibe is very much as many random things on the walls as you can think of. All over the place. The idea, and that sort of pervades the entire style of the restaurant. The menu is it's one sheet front and back, but it's like a 20-inch menu. It's massive.
Yes, I think there's 50 different subs that you can order. And if you're having a hard time imagining it, I've always felt like it's a very localized version of possibly a Hard Rock Cafe or a Planet Hollywood, if you've ever gone to either of those, where they might have on the wall, if you go to a Planet Hollywood, they might have Elvis's famous white leather jacket or something like that. Here they would probably have something in that same vein, but like a less prestigious version of it.
You know what though? I don't think I really picked up on it, but the one we went to was like the Tanglewood one this past weekend, and right at the front they do have like I think like a verified Elton John jacket like on a mannequin.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that they have this. I mean, it's been there since I was 6, but you know, it looks a little faded.
Right.
But it's there. They've got it. That's the thing. I don't think they've moved or cleaned anything on the walls in forever. Anyway, so this is Macado's. It's like it's been this weird restaurant that has been around my life for a very long time. That you went there when you were kids. I remember going there in high school with my buddies after soccer games.
Yep.
I remember going one of my roommates in college. He was like a last minute sub in on the roommates, and he knew something to do every single night of the week, and this was like how we bonded every night. He'd just be like, "Hey, John, you want to go do this thing?" And I'd be like, "Sure, Chris, let's go." And we'd end up all over the place, but he always did like some deal. So he like introduced me to like the Monday night wing night at Macado's, which is also like $1 pitcher night, and also like half price Hindenburgs, which the Hindenburg is a blimp sized sandwich. It is massive. You can hardly finish it with 4 people.
It's good.
It's good, yeah, and it's great for college students because half price Hindenburg, you're already going to be splitting it anyway, so it's more like quarter price Hindenburg, and then you've got sandwiches for the whole week.
Yeah,
because you're bringing it home.
$2 for at least 3 sandwiches. For you. Yeah,
it's fantastic. So anyway, that said, here I want to say about like 5 years ago, but because it was before Luke was born, I had a very negative experience at the Macado's.
No way.
I know. Yeah, it was a post church trip, and it was at the same location at Tanglewood.
Man,
we were there as like a group of like 8 or 10 of us. I mean, we sat there for over 90 minutes, no food at all. No one had anything but waters. 90 minutes in, it was like we put the orders in. There wasn't even like a complimentary basket of chips or something they could give us.
Right. Yeah,
everyone was just like, what is going? And then it wasn't like busy. We were like the only people there. It was like, what is going on?
I know. This is like that situation where it's like your ticket got lost is almost certainly, it seems like, what happened. Like it's not the issue that they were like waiting for tater tots to come out of the fryer or something like that. Like in a situation where it's like, oh man, like everything would be ready, except it's being held up by this one thing that, like takes a while, or people don't order that often and we don't have them on hand, or someone had to go to the store and buy more ranch dressing, or something like that.
Something
it's
like that.
Your ticket literally like fell in between the cracks, and it was like, it was taking forever because nobody was working on it at all.
Yeah. No one was working on it, but it was like 10 people. It was like, it was 10 people's orders in that way.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The whole table had nothing.
Right.
So anyway, like literally the whole table stood up and left. And that was the last time I went to that Macado's before this weekend. Like me and Beth we were just like, that was such a bad experience. Like we just swore it off and we're like, we're not going back. Like forget it.
But the statute of limitations had ran out. Like
it seemed like, the statute of limitations had run out. We were talking about it. She was like, what do you think about going to Macado's? And I was like, boy, I don't know. The last time we went, it took so long. But I was like, that was like over 5 years ago. They've probably changed the staff since then, right?
Jay, they probably changed the staff since you were there on Sunday.
They probably have, because this is no matter who you ask about Macado's, they'll say one thing like, the food is good, try the wings, they're great, get the Hindenburg, the service is terrible. Like, I don't know, maybe sometimes it's better than others depending on the location, but the running theme at every Macado's I've ever been to is it's slow.
Well, yes, it's slow, and again, it's this like super massive menu. This is like one of those like neither of us. Well, you sort of have worked in the restaurant industry.
I worked at the Panera Bread.
Yeah, you get it.
Which incidentally is right across the street from this Macado's.
Nice. In case you're in the area.
Yeah, definitely don't go to the Panera. Boy, when talk about places that have gone downhill.
Oh dear. Strong opinions about weak things.
I could go on, but we'll continue about Macado's for now.
Right. No, well, it's hilarious because I feel like as we're even explaining it, like I feel like everything kind of makes sense when it comes to it. It's like huge menu, tons of things, lots of turnover, usually like a college-aged staff.
Yeah, like they're trying to staff, like young people at like minimum wage and stuff, it seems like.
Right, like definitely trying to capitalize on those folks who can work flexible hours for a low wage type thing. Yeah.
But so anyway, we decided to go back this past weekend, and it was nice because like for the most part, I do enjoy the food there, and it is good. And they sat us down. They didn't have kids menus right out of the gate, and I was like, oh man, we're off to a bad start.
Great.
Off to a bad start. Yeah, I had to immediately also go change someone's diaper. There wasn't a changing table in the men's room, which I felt like this is weird. This has never happened to me before.
I have actually found that to be like a mild frustration. Is like, you know, there are plenty of instances where like I will like be like, yeah, let me go do that real quick. You know, like I'll run over and you get in there and you're like, well, now I'm going to have to go and ask Alice to do it because there's nowhere clean for me to change Addie's diaper. And it's like, man.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
anyway.
So that was frustrating. And it's weird that, you've encountered this at other places.
Yeah, I happened to be this past weekend as well.
What is going on? It feels like it feels like it feels like this tiny layer of like sexism against everyone.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
it's like, you don't think I would change my kid's diaper, or like you expect my wife to always do it? Yeah, I don't know.
it really
feels bad in both directions.
Right. It's like just fix this problem.
Just fix it, man.
Yeah, fix the koala plastic thing.
Exactly.
To the wall. Yeah.
Like, come on, like it cannot be that expensive. Yeah,
maybe what we should do. This should be like our new undercover mission. Is we should just find like a dump truck full of those plastic things somewhere, like like a shipping container full, and then like what we'll do is we'll just like covertly go into establishments where there isn't one and just install one.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's just like, when did this get in here? It's like, it doesn't matter. You're welcome.
It's like, is this vandalism?
Yeah.
It's helpful.
Right? Do you remember like reverse graffiti as a thing?
Yeah. Is that the process of painting, like hiring graffiti artists to paint graffiti so that other graffiti artists won't paint?
No.
Okay.
Reverse graffiti is using a pressure washer to create art on a dirty wall.
Oh,
so you have effectively cleaned the wall, but in a way that is
like visually stunning.
Visually like the same as graffiti, but instead of vandalizing it, you're cleaning it. So it's like, did you do anything wrong? I was just pressure washing. I cleaned a specific portion of the wall.
Public service, if you ask me.
Exactly. Right. So yeah. Anyway, eventually though, we get. This is the longest story ever.
It's okay. It's okay.
We're all over the place.
Right. We've been everywhere.
Yeah, we've been everywhere. We're sitting there. The kids are doing pretty good. They had like little coloring sheets. They're all enjoying that. All of them independently picked out different items off the kids menu, which was nice.
That is cool. Yeah.
A lot of time in our previous experience at restaurants, it's been like, okay, the kids menu, grilled cheese, chicken nuggets, or chicken tenders, hot dog, and you're trying to get an answer out of them, and they won't literally say anything. You're like, all right, everyone's getting chicken tenders. Let's Right. Yeah.
Yes.
But like you told all of them the options, and they all independently picked different things, so that was cool.
Well, I'll also say growing up, it was almost like, I feel like you being the oldest were almost like the person who could then set the example for the rest of the table. It's like, spaghetti?
Yeah.
I'll get spaghetti too.
Yeah,
I'll get spaghetti.
do that.
It's got to be safe if Jay's getting it.
Yeah, so that was good. Nick, he got a hot dog. The kids menu items were massive. Nick got a hot dog. I was like, that is not a kid's hot dog. It is huge.
That is hilarious.
And he has this funny way of eating them. He does this at home too, where he really wants to pick up the bread like as part of the hot dog eating experience, but he does not eat the bread. He just he'll hold on to the bread, but then only eat the meat. And so by the end, he just sort of has mutilated the bun, which quickly happened. So I had to makeshift a bun out of the remaining bun, which totally worked.
There is an incredibly ideal ratio of bun to hot dog that needs to be abided by.
Yeah.
I will absolutely occasionally eat a hot dog where it's there's so much bottom bun that I will not eat the bottom bit, and then there ends up being a strip of bread left over.
Yes.
Because it's this was too much bread.
Yeah. You can just rip a hot dog in half, press the hot dog into one half of the bun, and that is enough bread.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard it here first.
You heard it here. Hot dog hacks, know.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I love a good hot dog, but it does the story you're telling me of right now. I can't not deviate the story again, because we had an intern who worked with us once upon a time. Her name was Callie, and she was and is probably one of the most fashionable people that I know.
Yeah.
She's she has what the youth might call an aesthetic.
Yeah.
She's so good at having the look that is specific to her, and it is specific to her, and I feel not even other people. It's I don't even look at her and think oh, you're following the trends. It's no, you are creating your own trend.
Right.
You are a pathfinder.
You're there.
And it was very cool, very awesome. But I remember we went to lunch with her, and it was like one of these situations where we're all like going around the table ordering our things. And I remember she ordered a hot dog with ketchup. I don't know if anything ever just like gobsmacked me more than being like, hot dog with great.
There you go.
Great order.
Confidence.
It's like, and it honestly, it was like one of those things where I never would have discovered how great the hot dog was at that establishment if not for Callie ordering it first.
There you go.
Because I would have just overlooked it. And
You
instead
wouldn't
it was
have
like,
thought you could order it.
now I know.
Now
See,
you know.
Pathfinder. Anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
So there we go. Yeah.
Yep.
We're watching, we're finishing our meal, and we decide like, okay, we're going to get some dessert, because the one item on the menu that is also like, I would recommend you get, and it has been as good as I remember it for my whole life, but it is I think it's called the Madison Mud Pie, and it's just a giant brownie sundae.
Yeah.
And it is like, sometimes there's no reason to be complicated about it, okay? It's like a giant schooner glass.
Oh, hey, look at you go.
You can order beer out of these glasses too, which was fun in our early 20s. But it's a giant schooner glass. There's a giant brownie at the bottom. It's covered in chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream and hot fudge and whipped cream and cherries, Like, it is, I mean, it's just classic. It's right down the middle. It is as indulgent as you think it is. And like they brought it to us with 5 spoons, and like all 3 kids are like standing in the booth now, like spoons in hand, and like all 5 of us are just sort of like diving into it and enjoying it. And I mean, I think it was like a new core memory. It was like everyone was like so happy and just like making such a mess, but also really getting it and not making, it wasn't like, oh no, this is an embarrassing amount of mess, and just had hot fudge all over their face stuff. It was so fun watching them eat it and just like enjoy, everyone like unified and enjoying it together. Because like me and Beth are enjoying it just as much as the kids.
Right.
It's super good. Like, I don't know. Have you ever had it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So.
Like, and it is absolutely like similar to the Hindenburg sandwich. Like, you couldn't finish it on your own.
Yeah,
like,
no, you
like,
cannot go finish it by yourself.
Far too much. But it's also like amazing, because I feel like it's like ice cream just as a concept is just this like authentically good thing.
Yeah.
It's just like the world became a better place the day they invented ice cream.
Yeah, dude, what? Well said.
Thanks.
Well said.
Thanks.
No one's ever like, you guys want to go to ice cream? And it's like, oh gosh.
It's like,
are you serious?
Certainly someone out there right now was like, I'm not really into sweets. And it's like, well, you know what? You should go and find some good ice cream to enjoy, because it is the best.
It is. I love a good ice cream. So yeah, that was my overall experience on my return to Macado's. We got the sundae, and I feel like, and like as we're doing it, I'm like, it felt like, is this like tradition for him? Like, are we going to come here a lot and do this frequently? Like, is this going to be like a family thing? Like, go get the brownie sundae at Macado's? Like, this sounds like, it was like you could like feel something in the air or something, I
love how you started this experience basically like having sworn this restaurant off for bad service 5 years ago, and end it with basically new core memory.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I like going in, I was like, there's no way this place is that different. Like, the people would be different, but it'll be the same. And they didn't start out on a good note, but they ended on a slam dunk. And so it was really good. Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited, and I love it. I know what you're talking about. Like, it's so fun, because it's like the beginning of something that could be like now an integral part of your family's way of doing things.
We go do this. You guys want to go to Macado's? Go to the Sundae. We'll go to the Sundae. Yeah.
It's happened.
It's happening. Yeah.
I love it. All right.
Yep.
Transition.
Okay,
so Jay, interestingly, I feel like you brought up the idea of like core memories.
Yeah.
And while we were prepping for today's episode of The Pop, I have like continued. I've brought this up like I think several weeks ago or in the past couple of weeks in an episode of The Pop, but like I've had an unusual for me phenomenon that basically has been kind of going on, which is I've been kind of like referring to it as my brain calm.
The brain calm.
Which basically is like, I feel like for most of my life, I would almost like argue like I've had too much to say. Like I remember going back to like owning the aquarium store from like 2008 to 2012.
Yeah.
And like we would have certain specific customers who were like regulars who would come in who were like, a chatterbox. Like if you were to like know someone else who knows them, it'd be like, they're a bit of a chatterbox, right? You know, it's like, you know, like they're known for it. And so I remember it'd be the type of thing, like you got to like, you knew the same customer so much that like if their car pulled up, you were sort of like, no, okay, like so-and-so is here. Like
mentally prep.
I know how this is about to go. And I think for, you know, it always meant like either like, okay, basically they just pulled up. That means I'm probably either like staying late, or committing to a, you know, potentially just long conversation, or at some point, if it gets busy, I'm going to have to like, you know, find a way to like sort of interrupt them in order to be like, oh, hey, like, let me go help these guys out real quick. I'll come right back to you.
Right.
You know, whatever. And it was always something that I think was like, I felt like I was like, what is it about me that I find these people, you know, like I end up in this situation quite often.
Yeah, you attract them for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so like the conclusion that I ultimately came to is probably just that like I am also probably one of those people. You do say a lot. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like I think that there's the absolute like willingness to just basically go and like immediately have conversation with people, and like, you know, just like I feel like it's always one of these things where it's like, you know, I'll walk up to somebody on the street and it's almost like there's the ability to talk about like, oh, like the weather, where you headed, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. But like, you know, I feel like I've always been very okay with just like very casual interaction with somebody and just being like, let's talk about something real. Like we're passing each other in the mall. Why don't we talk about life? You know, or something like that. And so I think basically like that's sort of like what I had realized about myself is that like, okay, like maybe I'm a bit of a talker. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why this thing that seems to be like happening to me lately is sort of like, it's like causing like some version of like pause in myself, because there's this like what's happening that this thing that's always been true about me like is like potentially not currently true about me. Like, so I've even I've thought back about like, you know, the types of conversations we've talked about, the types of conversations that I've had. Like, I think if you've listened to the pop, you know, I can't help but be like very like introspective about these types of things. And so like, even, you know, I kind of keep digging deeper. After having my aquarium store, I remember for like the first few years out of college, you know, I was working very closely with like a good friend of mine, and like we were like in the car all the time, you know, like 6-7 hours a day, driving around and like maintaining all of these aquariums and stuff.
Right.
And so like one of the very common questions that I would like find myself gravitating towards is always just like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
And
what do you think about right now? Where's your mind wandered?
Yeah. Like where are you at? Like I can see like nobody said anything for like, you know, 2 or 3 minutes or whatever. It's like there's been too much silence. So like it doesn't matter that you haven't reached a point where whatever thought you're thinking about is worth bringing up out loud.
Yeah.
It's almost like, let's just go ahead and force it. And whatever you're thinking about right now, let's talk about that, because that's good enough.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's better than it just being otherwise quiet,
silent in the car.
And I'll even do this with Alice, like absolutely to this day, as of yesterday, you know, potentially asked her this question. We're like sitting on the couch at night and just like, you know, on our phones or just like sitting quietly or whatever. Like, you know, I'll sort of like set the phone down, look up at her and be like, what are you thinking about right now? And it's just like, let's talk about that. Surely there's a discussion, something we could be working on, something we could learn more about one another or something. But so this guy that I would work with at this period of time, it was so amazing to me, because at any point in time I would have like 15 things going on inside of my head. You know, like I was like working on like, you know, that client we just left. Like, I wonder what we're going to do about blah, blah, blah. Or like, oh man, there's like a pitch I need to do. Or like, you know, I really need to go and get like my car inspected. Or like, I don't know, you know, it's just like a bunch of stuff rattling around up there.
All over the place. Yeah. What am I doing with this weekend with my friends? Do I have any homework due? Whatever. Yeah.
How do we solve world hunger? That was probably in there as well.
Sure, right. Yeah, may as well work on that.
May as well.
I mean, feels like your responsibility.
Well, someone should, you know what I mean? But the thing that he would always say is nothing. And it's like, what do you mean? Like you're actively thinking about nothing.
Sounds like actively not thinking.
Actively not thinking.
Or passively not thinking, maybe.
Or maybe aggressively, literally thinking about the concept of nothingness.
Well, that could be it. Yeah. Was that ever it?
No, that was never it. Okay. Because if anything, that would be something.
That would be.
That would be something. That'd be something worth discussing. So anyway, I feel like like I could never really figure out like how someone thinks about nothing, or like what it would even feel like in your brain to not have anything like that you're actively like chewing on, that you're working on, that you're like wondering about, that you're curious or whatever. Like what do you discuss? Do you ever like, do you have this one way or another? Like,
yeah, totally. Sometimes I feel like I'll just completely zone out, or I won't really be thinking about necessarily anything
right
in particular. I almost say like sometimes I feel like I almost like crave it a little bit, because there's like, especially like with the kids running around, it's like there's always something occupying my mind and that I have to be focusing on literally right in front of me, or pulling on my shirt or whatever. And it's like I would just like to just nothing.
No, just a quiet calm.
Yeah. Beth and I were both like awake miraculously before all of the kids yesterday morning, and we were just sitting there on the couch, like drinking our coffee. No, like not really doing anything at all. And I was just like, man, it's so quiet. It's so nice.
That is really nice.
Yeah.
That is really nice. And I will say absolutely that like there have been moments. I would say that they do feel few and far between, like where the dogs are calm, where Addie's down, where like the house is just like at rest, and it's like I'll be like sitting in like the chair, which we got this rocking chair for Allie to nurse when Addie was born, and it was kind of one of these things where like it's sort of in the middle of the like room and like in the way and stuff like that. But I've like absolutely fallen in love with this chair. It's like no better place to go and think about nothing.
Yeah, sure.
Well, as I'm learning apparently,
to
go and think about nothing. But the difficulty is that sort of like having this gift of gab for a long time, or potentially even just being like a chatterbox, is that I have very recently found not only is it like I don't have these like ideas or whatever that are like rolling around the back of my mind, but also like my small talk. So like, you know, we're in January now, depending on like when you're listening to this in the future potentially, but like coming out of like the holidays, for example, we just spent like an enormous amount of time around various like extended family members, our own family, like whatever, like aunts, uncles, like, you know, all the various people that like you don't normally get that much communication with. And it's like, I'm like, man, my ability to small talk is also like just absolutely like wilting away, because I think the same thing is partially happening, where it's like I don't have like any like idea that's like rolling around in the back of my mind anymore. And so like it's not like and this is what I also discovered. It's like it must have been the case that I was gravitating conversations towards whatever topic was in the back of my mind.
Sure.
More than I even realized like consciously, I guess. So anyway, as I'm getting ready to like come and sit down for today's pop, I was like, I'm just going to start like letting my brain dump thoughts onto a page and sort of see like if I can like follow any like progression as to like where or why or how I kind of feel like this is going. And this is maybe potentially the conclusion I started coming to. Wait, I'm going to read it because I almost feel like I may have typed it better than I can just like reiterate it.
Right, yeah, okay, let's hear it.
So it was, sometimes it feels like everyone's life path has deviated far enough away from the common shared path that maybe certain topics are considerably less relatable because people aren't dealing with the same problems, and the problems they are dealing with are very specific to their situations.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. So it's like for a long period of time in life, if you want to take that like very like wordy group of sentences or whatever and try to like distill it out, it's like as you're growing up and going through like your middle school, high school years, it's like most of the people you're around are like in the same classes with you. They
Right.
potentially do sports with you. You potentially are like dating people in similar friend groups.
Or like everyone you know knows all of the same people you know and spends their day doing all of the same things.
Exactly, yeah. So there's like the big like shared experience is there. And then even beyond that, it's like you exit and, you know, a whole bunch of people kind of like dissipate and go to colleges, and like they're all going to different colleges for different reasons, but you're all still going like in a manner of speak from your high school days to whatever your post-high school days might be.
Yeah.
And that could even just be going to, you know, to college, community college, working, you know, apprenticeship, gap year, like whatever the case may be. But you're all still in this like pivotal stage of life. So even then, when you run into somebody, it's like, oh yeah, like, hey, how's University of Richmond? Like, what's that?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Exactly.
You know, and like you could still talk about like that shared experience, and then even beyond that, I feel like you've got, you know, like exiting college and entering like true young adulthood, if you will, where like potentially you're finding your person or getting engaged or having kids or buying a house or like starting your first like big kid job or whatever.
Yeah.
And so again, you know, it's like these are all things where it's like we could be doing them in completely different ways with completely different approaches and strategies and reasons and like all the rest. But like on the whole, it's like a lot of the story beats are like generally kind of similarly the same.
Yeah, like it becomes a little more diluted at each stage.
Yes.
Where it's just like, yeah, you're sort of in the same phase of life, but your day-to-day doesn't look nearly as like identical to the 400 other people in your graduating class, where more or less you all had the same day every day.
Right. So yeah, at this point in time, it feels like things have definitely like, yeah, they've branched far enough that it can be a bit more of a challenge off the cuff when you run into somebody to like even know what the common ground still is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I can't run into like, you know, Ryan from 11th grade and ask him about like algebra homework.
Right.
You know, like it's like, well, we're pretty far from that. It's like at this point, like I don't even know what's going on. But so one of the other things that I would say that I would pair with this is that like not only have we gotten like a little bit further away, but like forever I would tell Alice that like I was like a learning robot. And this is how like I would say that like if I had found any like success socially, it always came down to being this like, and it's the term I've always used. I'm a learning robot. So it's like very like binary driven categorization of how to interact with other people.
Yeah, even as like you're describing like the ways in which you would try to communicate with someone, and like, oh, is that like your typical approach? Like the way you're saying it is like as if like this is the obvious way all people communicate with other people, and I'm like, oh, that's not even like
well,
this, you know.
That's interesting too to know. And the thing is that like I would say for most of my life, and this is kind of the part I'm going to get to next, is that like when I would run into somebody, it wasn't like I was thinking through like, oh, hey, okay, this person, they went to this school. We both went to like whatever. I can ask about that, and that is a shared experience, so this will work. Like my brain probably subconsciously was doing that mental arithmetic, like weighing all of like the social ins and outs that like ultimately led me to asking like, hey, how's school?
Right.
But it was not like a conscious decision. It's just what my mind would prompt me with.
Sure.
And so that's the next piece of it. So here's my technical wordy definition of what I refer to myself as having or being a learning robot. It's the compounding knowledge about social interactions that is semi-rooted in binary analysis of the world and its turnings. So like basically it would be something like this is okay or this is not okay, or this is good, this is bad, do this, don't do this. But like, you know, as you would move forward in life and gaining new experiences, the flow chart would become incredibly elaborate. And it's not like it's got a foundation in ones and zeros, but like ultimately it's like fine shades of color, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
I think so. There was a lot of words in that sentence.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we'll have to back up and figure out how to I don't know, get how to make it clearer. Hang on.
All right.
Okay. So the idea though is that like in my mind, as I was having all these life experiences, so starting like, you know, in preschool, at the very beginning of like what it was like to engage with other people, the idea was that like all of these like do this or don't do this, or like say this and get a positive reaction, and if you say this, like maybe it's a negative reaction or whatever. Like all of that foundation, like the framework that I feel like my brain built as time went on and the way that I was interacting with others was all very like organic. Like every single interaction, like I was like first person, you know, walking away from a conversation and being like, wow, I really stepped in it. And it was like, okay, so that was a bad thing. Like I shouldn't try to approach a topic from this way.
Sure.
Or like maybe it was too direct, or maybe like you need to be more subtle, or maybe you need to be more patient with the person, or like allow them the opportunity to like bring up the thing first.
Yeah.
So I think that this was like really helpful for me because it was almost like you were learning all of these like social interaction lessons in just a truly like hands-on way, like real world actual experience.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I feel like has sort of happened is that like in the past probably like 10 years, social policy has started to like accelerate in a way like where more and more rules external to like my own personal experience have like been defined. And so frequently like I've come to know like, oh, like this is not like an acceptable way to like discuss this particular topic, or like this particular term might be like bad, you know?
Right. It sounds like are you talking about like social media has like accelerated the way in which like people can communicate and define rules about various topics?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I know exactly what you mean, where sometimes it's just like, yeah, there will be like, oh, this topic has taken on a life of its own in this direction, but I wasn't anywhere near that road. And now it's like, now they built like 300 miles of highway down there. And like, I've never driven down that road. And all of a sudden I'm like, but it's very well established. The infrastructure is nice. People know all the things about it, but like, I don't know anything about it.
Right.
I didn't even get a notification in my newsfeed that they were building this road.
Right.
And now suddenly I'm expected to know this road. But instead of one road, it's like 10,000 roads.
Yeah. It's like its own, like, you know, like network of veins that like might go off from the same thing. So the way I sort of described it is like, you know, it's almost like all of the social interactions I've had in my life are in this like very neatly categorized like library of information that like all came from these like, you know, very real experiences and memories, and they're like rich in detail and understanding, and like I can go back to like specific moments like with someone and know how and why something like went well or poorly or the rest. And it's almost like what's happened lately is like a stack of like manuals as to like how to socially interact has been like dropped on the desk in this library. And it's like, I know they're all there and I've read the backs of every single one of them. So like, I know like the basic inscription, the high points, like whatever, but I don't know like the subtleties of them.
Yeah. But like, this is like but is the point of conversation to simply adhere to the manual?
Well, I think that comes down to, I think it's a really good, I think it's a really good question. I think it comes down to absolute, like this is where I feel like as I've gotten older also, it's like, it's a level of trust with the people in your life as to how much you're willing to like allow those conversations to be a bit more candid in nature, where it's like, I legitimately don't know if I understand this manual. Like, I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to tell you, like, I don't know if I actually get it. But I think it's like, I need to be willing to like trust the people around me enough to even like acknowledge that could be true in the first place. Mm-hmm. You know, otherwise it's just like strictly adhere to the manual of information itself, if that makes sense. Like, and I think probably what was the case before was that like I generally just trusted that like everyone knew all the time that like that I wasn't out there like trying to like, you know, cause negativity in the world or something like that. If that would be a good way to.
No, I still operate like that.
Okay, well, I mean, like, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, my assumption is that people will give you the benefit of the doubt, and I feel like the real. Like the maybe the manual, if you want to say, that I've read is just like to generally be aware of when you might be approaching something that could be misconstrued, and just sort of like put up like a hedge that conversation,
right?
But like I don't think for the most part people like think you're trying. They think I'm trying to be like rude or step in it or like slam people down or something. And it's like, and honestly, if people like, I think my gut reaction, if like someone isn't really giving me the benefit of the doubt, then it's like, well, then I don't approve of your approach to life at all.
Like to like the social interaction in the first place.
It's like I might be making a mistake, but your like, abuse of the moral high ground is worse than my mistake.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I absolutely understand like that sentiment and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the underlying point of it, I think for me was like, as I was like trying to like backpedal all of these things, it was like, I think that was part of what ultimately like brought me to where I felt like I was finding myself like today. So like this was like sort of like me trying to like peel back the layers of the onion to be like, well, like, why is it that like, like maybe I'm a bit more like cautious to be open, or like maybe like a little bit more guarded, or like a little bit more like worried or like apprehensive about like, how a conversation could like potentially go. And it's like, I think what I'm finding is that like, as a result, I am like becoming more quiet. Mm-hmm. But I also don't find that I'm having like any like major qualms with it. I'm just like able to also recognize like, yeah, it's either that I have like less to say or I feel like less qualified to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's even potentially like,
I feel like I've experienced this particular, like, I don't want to use like the word, I'm going to use the word issue here in your like, contemplation of the world before.
Right.
It's like, I feel like the act of feeling unqualified to weigh in on something, whereas like I think the wall you've built is that you have to be qualified to talk about something, and it's like I think that is the belief in front of you that like is holding you back, and like I just don't think I think you can tear that wall down and you're still okay.
Right. Well, and I mean that's like. To like the only way I can best respond to it is that like you've had discussions with me, like we've talked here a lot on the pop and stuff about like like I don't know, like a philosophical approach to society or whatever the case may be, and it's like I think frequently I can like see people's like guards go up about it, or almost like they feel like they're being like lured into a trap of a conversation or something themselves, and so maybe that's a piece of it as well. I mean, it goes back to that trust thing. It's like I feel like there's like a higher level of trust needed in order to have like a genuine and proper like piece of communication about something that could be on the back of my mind. Mm-hmm. And like maybe that is where there's like even some layers of like subtlety or differentiation as to like where I used to be able to just run into anybody on the street and be able to like strike up a conversation about just literally anything. It's like now when I run into that person on the street, not only do I not know where they are in life or whatever, it's like I don't even know where to begin the conversation. I also don't want to use the springboard, which is just like whatever is like going on in the back of my mind.
Well, let me ask you this. In your situation where you're running into people on the street and striking up conversations, did you want to have these conversations, or were you just finding yourself in them?
Well, and that's a very good question as well, because
for me, like I don't want to like if I run into someone on the street, like I don't want that interaction to last more than like a minute. You know, like I want to like, to me it is a problem now. Like, oh, now I'm stuck talking to this person. Like I don't want to talk to you. I want to keep moving. Or what, not necessarily on the street, but just in general.
No, and I get that completely. Like, I think I'm saying it like as if you run into somebody on the street, but this might literally be like, I am now at dinner with someone who I haven't seen for a while. Yeah. And like, there is like the social convention that is like having a conversation while you're sitting there and realizing that like, I'm less sure about what to say or how to say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would probably be like I'm trying to use it as like an impromptu reason to discuss.
Yeah.
Is potentially what it comes down to. So, I don't know. I mean, it's just like I said. I mean, I was just trying to peel back the layers of the onion as to what and why and how and why is this happening?
Right. Well, I suspect that a large part of it might also just be that you're at a stage in your life where you spend a lot more time like at home with your family and interacting with a large number of people, like a lot less.
Yes.
Like it doesn't feel like that different maybe from, your late 20s, mid 20s or whatever. But like when I think back on it, it's like, yeah, you know what? During that time, there was a lot of time when, on any given evening, I might just like text my friends and say like, do you want to go to like a restaurant and just meet up? Or do you want to go do this thing? Or do you want to do this? And it's like, I don't do that almost ever. Like my social life is has to be, by necessity has to be like planned mostly out in advance. A lot of my time is it's like either here at work or at home.
Sure.
And so it's like, I'm just not interacting with the same number of people on a regular basis. And it's just like, that's just sort of the phase at life I think we're in, where it's like where your family, and especially when you have young kids, takes like a ton of your focus, and a lot of your time. And the obvious sacrifice that's made is like the rest of your social life where you're hanging out with lots of your peers all the time. And so where you might have just had tons of opportunity before to have lots of discussions and feel comfortable talking about a lot of things, like those opportunities just simply aren't there. And it's not because like necessarily anything about you in particular has changed, but just because the situation in your life has changed, where now you have to spend a lot more time at home with Addie and with Alice and, otherwise at work with, me and the crew here.
Right. Yeah. So like you essentially find yourself like, even it's like literally what could just be happening is like you're just out of practice. Like,
yeah,
because there is the additional element, which is the fact that like since 2020 there was the pandemic, which meant that like sort of abruptly you were able to go and see lots of people all the time. A lot of like the habits or rituals or behaviors where you would normally go to social situations kind of got like a little bit affected, by that coming out the other end of it. And then not to mention along that path, I also, had Addie. And so now like my life is just sort of changed in that way as well, where it's like now I have something that's like the center of like my whole universe. So, no, I mean, I think that like all of those are perfectly reasonable and accurate contributing factors to where it is today. It's just been very interesting because it's been like a very like in my mind it's felt like a very like abrupt and noticeable and visible like shift that like I almost expect that like everybody around me is sort of like seeing and being like, this is different.
Yeah. Well, I would say I have not particularly noticed it. I mean, we were even on a call. We've been on several just calls here at work over the past week, and there will be times where we're like, man, Ben sure has a lot to say.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. I don't know. Maybe it's just in your head.
maybe it's just in my head.
I will say there might be like some saving grace on the reverse end of this though, where I feel like maybe I get to spend less time with like a large number of friends or something than I used to. But sometimes I also find that because I've spent less time around them, like if I end up in a situation where now I have like 2 or 3 hours to hang out with somebody, like I actually do have a lot to talk about because I haven't gotten an update from this person in, a month or something.
Right.
Whereas
yes.
like I might have just like, if I saw someone every day, I feel like I'd run out of conversation with them fairly quickly or something.
Right.
But like, oh yeah, no, it's been several months since I've seen you, so tell me everything, and that can totally fill a couple hours
worth of
conversation.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so I don't know, and that's another big one too. Is like during the past year, I've been off social media so much, that possibly even I think I've underestimated how much my brain had been trained to use. Like these little prompts, like, somebody could have been like expecting a child and you could see them like, oh my gosh, like, how's it going? Like I saw you guys got home, like, has it been like sleepless nights and stuff like that? It's like, I had like the cues, the setups, like whatever. So like, I knew how like to like I have like just enough research from being able to observe from afar, enough that's going on to be able to like engage in that like conversation. That otherwise now it's sort of like, I need anything. Give me something new. Did you get a new job? New haircut? New car?
Right. What's new?
Did
See a new movie? Yeah.
See any movies?
What are you watching?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, any conversational tips, I'll appreciate them.
There you go.
Send them my way.
What also helps is libations.
That is true.
Always
Social
great.
lubricant.
Social lubricant for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, liquid courage.
Yeah. Probably can't just have that all day, every day, though. That's bad practice.
It's its own problem.
That's a different problem altogether.
Anyway, transition.
All
right. So since we got heavy, dense, thick, solid.
2 C's.
Did I already say dense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now dense with a C.
We do have something sort of exciting on the horizon, which I'm personally very stoked about, which is that your family, my family, parts of extended family are all traveling down to Disney. I think from when we're sitting here in like less than 10 days, 9 days from now, potentially.
Yeah, this episode will go live this Friday, and so a week from when you are hearing this, we will be flying down to Disney.
Very exciting stuff. Very exciting. And it's like, it keeps feeling to me, it reminds me a lot of like going down for my wedding, actually, because there's going to be so many people there that like at all times it was like, oh, who can we do lunch with on that day? And who will we like, which park are you guys going to be at and all the rest. So lots of fun, exciting stuff. You and I became also like Disney Vacation Club members, which this will be like our first trip since like joining into this like new thing.
This new thing, something we waffled on for like years, and I was like, let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Which is, it's like, in case you're unaware of what it is, because it seems like I've thought about it so much that I feel like I'm like, oh, everybody knows what this is, and it seems like I've told some people, and they're like, what is that? And so anyway, it's effectively a timeshare at Disney,
more or less.
And it's like, it's so funny to me because it's like the idea of a timeshare for most of my like young adult life is sort of like I don't even know how to describe it. It doesn't necessarily always have like the most positive.
It doesn't. It like brings up this feeling of like high pressure situations. Like you are going, like it feels like whenever you hear about it, it feels like someone was like, you were in a room with someone and they were pitching you hard on it, and they had 12 different backup plans, and like almost certainly you were getting scammed and you probably weren't going to use it. And like, even though they say it's great, it's going to be kind of hard to schedule it around the other people. And there's like a lot of I've had a lot of like but then other times I'll have talked to people and I'm like, yeah, my parents have a timeshare down there. We go every summer, and it's like, oh,
well, that's cool.
Okay.
I know. Yeah. It's like it. Yeah. And I mean, maybe that's too like where like there's this like idea of like the dream of having like a vacation home or something like that. And like, I don't know if it felt like this was like a short step to that conclusion. But either which way, like it's one of those things that like I researched like to death, like I like built spreadsheets for it and stuff like that. I was like, I have gotten in deep in this, which is even really funny because like for such a huge part of my life, I was like almost like this seems like a bad take, like anti-amusement or theme parks.
Oh man, no, interesting.
Yeah, like I think it was always like I never really liked like the environment or the vibe. Like I always just thought about like you're hot, like almost definitely like food poisoning always felt like it was on the table.
Man.
Like motion sickness, someone's upset or has a headache, like
this is the bummer of a viewpoint, man.
I know. Well, so and it was really interesting because like then like when Allie and I started dating, one of the first big trips we went on with the camper was going down to Disney, and obviously like ever since then it's become this thing that's like integral. We got married there. Like, it's a huge part of what we do here at work. We've like worked with Disney World directly. So it was like, I think as time went on, it was like, there is no way it won't be a part of our life.
Right.
So like now
it's so crazy to me too. Cause I remember when we went to Disney World for the first time as kids, and like, I remember going and thinking like maybe I'll never go back, or like maybe once I'll go with my kids,
right?
Or something.
Yes, I mean, because that's exactly how our childhood was. We went on one occasion. Mom and Dad were doing like the half marathon, that they were hosting at the time, and like that was the reason. Well, I'm sure they were excited to bring us kids to the parks as well. Yeah, like I mean that's a big deal. But like that was the occasion. That's when we went. That was the only time we had gone until I went back as an adult.
Yeah.
So definitely like it's very interesting, but I also feel like because now I know that like it will be integrated into future plans and stuff, I feel like my mentality going into this upcoming trip is very different.
Yeah.
Like I feel like really like at ease about it, like especially knowing we'll have Addie there and everything, and that the ability, like she's not quite old enough yet to do like a lot of the stuff. And so when we went last year with her, it was a pretty like low key visit where I think like Allie and I pretty much spent most of the time just trying to figure out like how to do it.
Right.
You know, like what is it like having a stroller, and does that make it harder to get on the bus? And like, how do you do the ride share? And like, you know, all of those.
It does make it harder to get on the bus.
It does make it harder to get on the bus. That's true. There's no escaping that.
There's no escaping it.
But I also feel like I'm like, you know, it's kind of cool because it's like we can go down. We can, like, it's like there's not as much pressure to go and like have every single second of every single day be as jam packed as humanly possible because you don't know when you get to come back.
Right. Yeah. There is a certain amount of that, and I that has been like a pervasive feeling every time I've ever been to Disney World. Like, let's get in as much as possible at every second of the day.
Yes.
Like, you know, plan it out. Where are we going to go? Where has the shortest lines right now? You know, what can we get done? How are we going to use our fast passes? All that. No, they don't have fast passes anymore. Oh my gosh, the stupid Genie Plus thing. I hate it so much.
It is worse.
Look,
it is
Ben,
worse.
I'm going to predict it right now. They're going back. They're going to go back.
I can definitely like, you know, drop my tinfoil hat on a little bit. Like I will say there, like I don't follow the like the leadership of the Disney company like a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a lot of investment. I don't really have a lot to say about like Bob Chapek or Bob Iger or you know, like any of those conversions. Like I don't even know how to like speak on the politics of like that particular situation. I will say when I heard that Bob Iger was coming back as like the like temporary stand-in president, CEO, whatever, I was like, maybe he'll bring fast passes back.
Oh,
like it was like
feels like
man,
yeah.
Can that be fixed?
Can it be? It feels like I'm just going to give him some time. I'm sure he has a million other fires to put out and is a very busy person at all times.
Yes.
But it does feel like, you know what? You know what everyone really hates is Genie Plus. And you know what everyone loved was fast passes. And it's just like, I bet a ton of infrastructure and money went into building Genie Plus and rolling it out and all that stuff. And it would take a lot of moving parts to like just undo it effectively and go back to what you used to be doing. And maybe there's a third better way to do it. I don't know. But man, is Genie Plus the worst. And like, I feel like they'll get there. They're like, okay, there's a lot to do. There's a whole lot to do, but we can do it.
Maybe this is like how like the Marvel movies, it's like, man, will Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up in the Spider-Man movie? Because that would be like some pretty crazy cameos. It's like that. It's like, they're going to bring it back. They're gonna bring it back like fast passes. It's like Tobey Maguire showing back up on screen.
Yeah.
It's like, no way!
Right. Like, look,
the crowd goes wild.
There's zero situation where they announce, where you see the headline come across that Disney is bringing fast passes back, that like it doesn't make Disney stock go up. Like, even though people aren't going to have to pay for Genie Plus anymore, it makes I just more people are willing to go. It will be such an exciting announcement. They will do it.
I wonder if there is anyone out there who is like, honestly, I've adapted to Genie Plus and I prefer it to the fast passes.
No one feels that way. No one. It is confusing and really expensive.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Stupid.
Really
I
difficult.
don't like it.
Yeah.
Hot take. Not hot take. Ben, okay, actually, this is it. I put this over here.
It seems like a great place to close off our conversation for today.
Here we go. Yeah, super excited for Disney World. We're bringing the kids. I was sure we're going to have a bazillion stories. Nick and Nate's first trip. It's going to be amazing.
I know. Yeah. How many times has Luke already been?
Luke's already been twice somehow.
Okay.
Because he went for your wedding, and then one time when Disney World wanted us to make videos for them, they graciously allowed us to bring Luke and our mom to watch him. So that was really awesome. Thank you, Disney. But this will be my this is my other prediction for the future of the phrase hot takes.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
It is that the phrase hot take will be replaced in the near future with ice cold take.
Ice cold take.
Ice cold take.
It's like, oh, that's an ice cold take.
No. That's not how it'll be used.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
So a hot take would be like, this is an unpopular opinion.
Right.
Right. This not an unpopular opinion, but an uncommon opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Like you might go into let's see here, like Avengers Endgame, like hot take, didn't really like it.
Yeah.
You know,
hot take,
like,
Phantom Menace, best Star Wars movie. You know.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So the reverse of this will be the ice cold take.
Okay.
Which will be used in a like somewhat ironic sense.
Okay.
Right. So like if you were to say, if you were to just go like, okay, ice cold, it will be to suggest that something is obvious. Like
ice cold take.
If a hot take is to say something, is to like point out a uncommon opinion, an ice cold take would then be to like state the extreme obvious.
So like an ice cold take would be that fast passes are better than Genie Plus.
Right. But it'll be used in response to hot take.
Okay.
Right. So it'll just replace it to state, rather than this is my uncommon opinion, it will be used to state that your uncommon opinion is in fact the popular opinion. So like ice cold take, like, yeah, here's my ice cold take. The Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars movie. Like, it's so obvious. Like, it's not of interest because it's so obvious that The Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars movie.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what I like it.
There's like you're
that.
replacing the hot take with the ice cold take. Yeah.
I like it.
Right. Because right now it would mean the opposite, but it'll be used to replace it in the exact same way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's how it's going to happen. Just you wait. Ice cold take coming soon to a conversation near you.
Wow, you set that up perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed. It seems like I can't imagine saying anything else more clever than that for the rest of the conversation. So we'll go ahead and end it there for this week. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/popcornculture. One of the tiers I could highly recommend is our $5 tier, which gives you access to After the Final Pop.
Yeah.
What? It's an extra 15 to 20 minutes each week of Jay and I continuing the conversation or just talking about something we didn't get to in the main episode. It's always a hooting and hollering good time. Actually, last week we uploaded a full episode of After the Final Pop.
Yes, we did.
Just to the RSS feed. So if you're on iTunes or Spotify or wherever your pods are cast, you can actually get like a teaser as to what it would be like to listen to one of those episodes.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun, so be sure to check that out. Otherwise, again, it's the $5 tier at patreon.com/popcornculture. Otherwise, if you have any feedback for me about today's show, you can send it over to popcornculturepod@gmail.com. I always love seeing your thoughts and responses. Otherwise, until next time,
Pop, pop.